My name is Shannon. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus and recovery for drugs and alcohol. All right, so I want to start off tonight by giving us a little food for thought. So I saw the results of a study that was done, and it was an observational study. And essentially what it was the people that were in the study didn't even know they were in a study. Someone was off to the side watching, and the people were going from the first floor to the second floor. And so they walked out, and all of a sudden they had two options. They could either walk up a set of stairs, or they could take an escalator. And the results of that was that only 2% of the people walked the stairs. And this is just one of many examples of how our brains make choices without giving much thought to it. And we tend to gravitate towards what is the more comfortable, easy choice. And this mentality plays out in so many areas of our lives. We usually know the right choice to make, but we tend to make the comfortable choice. So let's look at some examples here. Like in our finances, we live in the most prosperous country the world has ever known. Yet most people, 60 years or older, cannot handle an unexpected expense of $500 or more. And the average American carries almost $10,000 of credit card debt. Now, the disciplined answer is to live on just a little bit less than we make and invest the rest of that into a retirement account. But we lean towards buying what we want when we want it. We choose the immediate comfort. What about our health and fitness? Every year as the new year approaches, people across the country make resolutions that what? They're going to eat better, they're going to work out more, and they're going to get into shape. In January, gyms around the country are filled solid. You have to wait in line just to get on a Stairmaster. Then February comes around, a little bit shorter wait. Third month, even less. And by the fourth month, the gym is a near ghost town. That is, except for the very few disciplined people, a handful of disciplined people that are there multiple times a week after week, month after month, year after year. This also tends to show itself in recovery as well. We get to the point of being sick with our lives the way they are and say enough is enough. This time, I am going to get a sponsor and then really work the steps we proclaim. We start off strong, we go to meetings, we get a sponsor, we work steps 1, then 2, then in step 3, we turn our will and our lives over to God. Then it's on to step 4. We start dragging our feet. Next thing we know, our recovery is essentially a ghost town. Again, we have the best of intentions, but we fall back on comfort. Comfort is our enemy, but discipline will set you free. The big book covers our tendency and the way we lean towards comfort and not face the difficulties when they state that half measures avail us nothing. In the preceding statement, it tells us that the disease is cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all the power. That one is God. May you find him now. As people, when struggling or in pain, we tend to pull back and we isolate. We try to go it alone instead of seeking support or help. We let our denial and our pride tell us, no, I'm not doing too bad. It's okay, I'm okay, and I can handle it alone. But what does God say about going at it alone? Ecclesiastes 4:9 says that two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toils. There is a few decisions that we do need to make on our own. In recovery, we must decide and declare for ourselves and ourselves alone what step 1 tells us, that we are powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, and our lives had become unmanageable. No one else, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much they care, no matter how worried they are, can ever decide that for you. My wife and I are dealing with that right now as we watch our son deal with drug and alcohol issues. We can see it in him. He chooses not to. The same goes for step 2 and 3, where we understand that God is our higher power, that He is willing and able to heal us when we turn our lives over to His care. But then as we move into the 4th step and beyond, God is still doing the healing, but we have a huge part in doing the work. God is not going to put pen to paper for us. We have to do the work. It's a simple program, but we need guidance and support, like Ecclesiastes 4 just told us. And from someone who has walked that path before you and has recovery. This is your sponsor. Early on in our recovery journey, all of this change can be overwhelming, uncomfortable, and even scary. I had no idea what to do and what was next. That is until I got a sponsor. Your sponsor can help keep you on track, focused on the right things, and encourage you through the difficulties. So the lesson tonight is a really easy one. The lesson tonight is on forgiveness. And yes, that's a joke. It's a step 8 and 9 lesson, which is where we do finally get to become willing to, and in many cases, get to make amends to those we have harmed. But before we can take this monumental step and make our amends, our hearts need to be in the right place. We first need to be able to learn to forgive those who have harmed us, and it's not easy. This is probably the most difficult thing we will do in our recovery. You might ask, why? Why forgive someone who has harmed me? Why do I have to forgive someone? You have no idea what that person has done to me. And you're right, I don't know what they have done, but what I do know is that we all have a story. We all have pain, and if you want to gain health and healing and recovery, forgiveness is a must. So first off, we need to understand what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. And it is in no way saying what the other person has done is acceptable and all right. And it also does not mean that we even have to have that person in our lives. Forgiveness is for us, for our own sanity. It's not for them. Can anyone tell me what a lack of forgiveness is? Anyone? Scream it out. There it is. Whoa. Settle down there. A lack of forgiveness is resentment. And as a room full of individuals with addictive and compulsive behaviors, we all know the destruction and chaos that resentment creates in our lives, don't we? A lack of forgiveness is a resentment that will fester inside of you and eat away at your sanity and darken your heart. Without forgiveness, your recovery will stall or be completely destroyed. And you know, most of us think that forgiveness is a really good idea. That is until we ourselves have to do it. And a lack of forgiveness blocks our relationship with Jesus. So when we face difficulties or life's choices, it's always important to see what God has to say about it or what example Jesus has shown us. And God has given us the most amazing example of forgiveness we will ever know when He sent Jesus to die on the cross in our place. He would have never gone to this extreme extent without knowing how much we would all need it. God has already forgiven you for everything, past, present, and future. And He can help you grow to the point of being able to forgive others. This takes time, takes healing, and it takes growth. Do you want another opportunity for growth? Ponder this. Yes, Jesus died for you, but Jesus died for your perpetrator as well. And a lack of forgiveness punishes us, not them. So tonight's lesson is going to be a little bit different. I have asked two people to share tonight who have had unforgivable acts committed against them. And for both of them, they were by people they loved and trusted. They both have extremely solid recovery that came in large part in their decision and work to learn how to forgive others. And yes, I did say learn how to forgive. It just doesn't come naturally. I admire these two beyond belief, and the man I am today, the recovery I have today, the reliance I have on God today, and the life overall that I live today would be completely different without the love, guidance, and support of these two people. I have asked them both to share a brief summary of what they experienced, how they were able to forgive, and the impact that this had in their lives, both before and then after getting into recovery. Okay, so first up is the sweetest, most loving and forgiving person I know, the true love of my wife, my amazing wife, Emily.
La 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 la.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, you guys. I'm Emily. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, recovering from codependency and food issues. And I'm honored to be here when my husband asked me to share. I was nervous, but this is part of recovery. Okay. I'm here to share a miracle that God has done in my life. God has freed me from a mind prison that I have lived in for many years. I have struggled with shame, self-blame, anger, and depression because I couldn't get out of the cycle of unforgiveness. When I was young, someone in my family who I was very close with molested me. This really confused me and gave me distorted ideas about what it meant to be loved. I trusted this person. I didn't want to rock the boat with my family, so I kept everything in and stuffed my feelings. After a long time of battling with anger, self-hatred, addiction with food, anorexia, bulimia, and compulsive overeating, I hit a bottom. I thought about ending my life, but I also thought, maybe there's another way to be free. Around this time, I accepted Christ as my Savior, but I still didn't want to forgive. One time, I remember serving at my church, handing out the elements for communion, when I started thinking about what Christ did for me to be forgiven from my sins. Jesus died on the cross, such a gruesome and painful death, so I could be covered by his blood to live in freedom. So if I can be forgiven for my sins, how come I can't forgive this person who hurt me? I started thinking about the idea of hurt people hurt people. God started working in my heart to be willing to forgive. The motivation of being set free from the mind prison I had been in for so long made me take a leap of faith to start being willing to forgive. It's truly a miracle from God. Jesus gave me the courage to leap into forgiveness. Some days I feel angry all over again. And then I remember I have a choice to forgive. For myself, I choose not to be a victim. I choose to live in freedom. The freedom tastes so good. It's way better than the bitterness. I choose to set healthy boundaries around this person. Just because I forgive doesn't mean I need to be friends and have them in my life. I also work the 12 steps with my sponsor, attend step studies, and come to Celebrate Recovery. These tools help me see my part and keep growing. God has given me a precious gift in this process, a wonderful husband. I am so grateful for all the support and love that my husband has given me around setting boundaries with this person. God knew just the husband I needed. Thank you, God, and thank you, Shannon. Today, I practice praying for the person who hurt me. God gives me the willingness to pray, even when I don't want to. Each time I choose to pray, I am set free from that mind prison I had lived in. Thank you for letting me share what God has done in my life and my heart with forgiveness.
All right, thank you, Emily. It was amazing. No, just leave it. Thank you. So in the case of my wife's perpetrator, after the incident that occurred, she actually had to continue living in the same house with this person and seeing him day after day after day. I can't imagine the daily pain and constant reminders. Honestly, it's far easier for me to forgive those who have harmed me than it was for me to forgive someone who had harmed my sweet wife, knowing she was just a kid and how from that day forward her life was changed forever, and knowing the years of battling her addictions and struggles she went through. When I first found out what happened to her and by who, I had thoughts of what I was going to do to him when given the opportunity. And I came up with all kinds of scenarios in my mind how I could do this without getting caught. But again, the Word of God is our guidance and direction. Romans 12:17 says, do not repay evil for evil. So my sponsor has said many times, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That was certainly the case when I became ready to change my life. So I want to now invite up my teacher and my sponsor, Tim.
Turn it off? Oh, no, there we go. Let me get my notes. What? See? It's some music notes to make it look good, right? My name's Tim, and I'm a believer in Jesus Christ in recovery for drugs and alcohol. And along those lines, there's probably a good handful of you people in here that have heard this story before, but it's the only story I have. And it was a big part of my recovery, and it's one of the things I learned here. Because, of course, I was making amends with people that I harmed. There's an awful lot of them. But I never thought about making amends with those that have harmed me. First of all, I didn't think I was worthy. And because of the things that I had done, I wasn't that guy. So I want to go back real quick. I'm the last of 11 kids. I have 10 brothers and sisters. And, in doing the 4-step with my sponsor, we did a very thorough 4-step. He had me go to the very first memory of my life and mark down all the names, and we went through the 4-step and what areas of my life it affected. And one of those people was my dad. And both my mom and dad grew up during the Depression. They were very strict. It's something I've come to know talking to people who had parents that were of that age. A lot of them were very strict. They're cut from a different cloth. And, when I was doing my 4-step, I really didn't think, I put my dad's name down there. I didn't think it wasn't a big deal, but once I started writing down all the stuff, I was like, that son of a gun. And I didn't use that word, and I started sharing it with my sponsor, and and he's like, whoa, My sponsor was a Navy SEAL from Vietnam. He had heard it all, and he had done it all. And he started hearing these stories. So One of the stories, I'll just tell it really quick. My dad, we were at the house. It was after school. My parents had their own homework for me, writing, penmanship, math, that kind of stuff, just basic stuff. They would check it. They were very strict. And I had gotten a new pair of glasses. I was in third grade, and as you guys know me, I wasn't a wise guy when I was a little kid. Let's put you. Yeah. Anyway, so I was getting into trouble, and I got a new pair of glasses, and I'm sitting at the dining room table, and I'm reading my social studies book, and getting ready to do my homework from school. And my dad's sitting in the living room, and I'm in the dining room at the dining room table. And he gets up while I'm reading, and he leans over that table like this. My dad was a big dude, man. He looked scary. He had these red eyes, and his eyebrows go like this. He had big forearms, and he puts it on the table, and he goes, "Read." So I started to read, and I couldn't read. I was like, "Beep-a-da-ba-doo-be-deep." I couldn't read. So my dad hauls off, and boom, he punches me between the eyes, breaks the glasses. Glasses go flying. My nose is bleeding. And then my mom comes in with the washcloth, and my mom, you think she'd be like, "What the heck are you doing?" And she puts it on my nose. She goes, "Hey, you're bleeding all over my carpet." She was concerned about the carpet. So I had resentments there too, but we won't go there. So she got me up and into the kitchen, and my dad was whapping me in the back of the head. She's like, "Stop, you're making a mess." So this is just one incident. There's other incidences too. It didn't, this wasn't like this all the time. But there was these moments that was just like, well, this is unbelievable. When I'm writing this on my fourth step, I got madder and madder. And something about resentments too. It's kind of nice having a resentment. I kind of like having a resentment. It feels comfortable having a resentment, And there's some comfort to that. And something in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that talks about too, resentments actually have the power to kill. And in my case, the only person I was killing was myself. So, I'm doing this on with my sponsor and talking about it on my fifth step. And so we get to the eighth and ninth step. So on the eighth step, I'm writing my dad's name. What harms did he do to me? That kind of thing. Character defects. I had stuff to own too. I used to take the money out of his wallet. We didn't have any money. We were like lower middle class. My dad got $20 a week in his wallet. He worked his butt off. 3 jobs a day. 3 jobs. One during the day, one at night, and one on the weekends. And I'd go in his room, I'd sneak in there and take $20 out of his wallet. That's all he got every week. He knew it was me. It was just like this cat and mouse game going on. So I had stuff to own too. So I did my fifth step, and we burned it. It was really good. We wrote it, my eighth and ninth step. I wrote my resentments, and, I wrote out a ninth step because he had passed away at this point. He passed away when I had 30 days of sobriety. So I had to make amends with a dead person. So I burned it, and it was really good. It helped out a lot. Am I going over time? I'll be quick. So fast forward, this was 1996. So 2005, I met a guy at church, came to our Celebrate Recovery. Some of you might remember Dixie. He was 92 years old. And he came into our little men's small group. We're like, what's he doing here? He's a recovering alcoholic. Turns out he served in World War II. He was in Okinawa. So when the meeting was over, we went and had coffee like we have here after the small group. And I said, hey, yeah, Dixie, my dad was in Iwo Jima. That's all we knew about my dad in World War II. My dad was in Iwo Jima. And he goes, what outfit, what this, what that? I said, I don't know. He goes, come on over to the house. We'll fill out this paperwork, send it into the Navy, because my dad was in the Marines. And about a month later, I got back a big packet with a Bronze Star in it, 2 presidential unit citations, a naval unit citation. And he was a private. And he was in Signal Corps, and he was, if you read the book, they sent the book from the 3rd Marine Division, and you could read about my dad's unit. There's a picture of him in there, and he got involved in some hand-to-hand combat where both the Japanese and the Americans ran out of ammo. They were relegating to fighting with clubs, bayonets, and fists. That's when the amends happened full on. That's when it happened. It was like scales. I was like, I understood my dad. I was like, wow, I can't imagine that. He was 22 years old, and he's fighting for his life in some godforsaken island in the middle of the Pacific. I had to be patient. I had to stay diligent, disciplined, keep on my steps. I had total forgiveness for my dad. So come full circle, we started meeting at Dixie's house, Capitola, and he started inviting his World War II buddies and Vietnam vet buddies over, and they started telling their stories. I didn't serve in the military, but they made me a corporal because I made good coffee. And I'm sitting there to get to hear these stories. They let me do my presentation for my dad at their group. I was so honored. You know, these guys were military guys that served during wartime. And at night, I'd drive the World War II guys home because they couldn't drive. They were too old. And I'm dropping one of the guys off. And that night, I had done the presentation of my dad. And he looked over at me and he goes, "You know what? Your dad was a hero." I said, "Thank you, Cal, I know." And he goes, "You know what? You're getting to thank your dad now. You just keep making good coffee and bring good desserts." And he gets out of my truck, you know, and I'm driving away, and I'm just like, just started coming, you know. I'm like, wow, this is an amends. This is the amends process. So what I want to encourage you, stick with it, get a sponsor, do the steps, read the paperwork, read the book, do it fully, and don't stop. This took 10 years. At that point, I had, 10, 11, 12 years of sobriety when I actually made my full amends. I didn't even know I didn't make full amends. I thought I did when I burned it back in 96. You know, stay diligent. So that's my pitch on forgiveness is possible. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. So as you can see, neither of these two made the comfortable decision. The difficult decisions changed the trajectory of their lives. When we are looking to forgive others, it is futile if we do not learn to also forgive ourselves. It is very difficult to forgive the darkness and the pain that we have caused. And again, we need God's help in forgiving others. He tells us, no matter how deep the stain of your sins, I can take it out and make you as clean as freshly fallen snow. Even if you are stained as red as crimson, I can make you white as wool if you will only let me help you. This is Isaiah 1, 18 and 19. And let's not let this last line pass without really grasping it. If you will only let me help you. God is always there, patiently waiting for us to open up and let him in. But it must be our decision. We must also remember God works through others. So if you're sitting there praying and waiting for the skies to open up for God to help you directly, it doesn't work that way. He's going to work through you. He's going to work through others for you. So forgiveness sets us free. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it most definitely changes our future. Don't make the easy choice, make the healthy choice. And remember, the escalator is broken, so take the steps. God bless you all.
Santa Cruz Celebrate Recovery meets every Friday night at 7 p.m. We're located at Christian Life Center, 1009 Mission Street in Santa Cruz, California. If you live near Santa Cruz or just visiting the area, we warmly invite you to attend. To learn more, you can visit our page on Christian Life Center's website at clcsantacruz.org/celebrate-recovery. We hope this video has been encouraging to you, and thank you for watching.